So next, please, my colleagues, Mr. Tom Hesketh, the Deputy Director of Eurocham, will give his presentation on the business opportunities in Cambodia. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. Just share my screen. Okay, so hopefully people can see the slide.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. So, hi everybody, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my 10-minute presentation on business opportunities in Cambodia. So you heard previously the esteemed Excellencies and previous speakers have done a wonderful job explaining the strategies to promote investment in Cambodia and the importance to both Italy and Cambodia of sustained and warm trade relations. Today's presentation will focus on introducing Cambodia and some key highlights to those who are just considering to enter the kingdom. And this is the deck we use to promote Cambodia as a trade and investment destination. So my presentation today will cover the perception gap we see people have of the country, the challenges and opportunities faced by our members, and then finally it will end with some data sources to learn more about Cambodia. My own name is Tom Hesketh. I'm the Deputy Director of Eurocham. To date, this is the largest international chamber in the country, comprising and offering services to the German, French, Nordic, Benelux, and of course the Italian communities. So for section 1, the biggest challenge we face at Eurocham is what we call the perception gap that has been mentioned previously. Cambodia is more than just ancient temples, though of course it has these in abundance, and it offers much more than just agricultural products. Agriculture is making up a decreasing portion of GDP each year. It is also very much moved on from the Khmer Rouge past many in the West associate Cambodia with. In fact, the topic is very rarely discussed by most Cambodians, who instead choose to look forward, aiming to improve their future living standards. And as you can see here, Cambodia is a very different place compared to even a decade ago. The capital, Phnom Penh, has transformed into an exciting urban hub, complete with restaurants, international schools, and increasingly sophisticated retail and entertainment offerings. And another photo here, you can see the development of Koh Pik. And the previously sleepy coastal city of Sihanoukville would be unrecognizable to anybody who visited even 5 years ago, as Chinese and local investors have undertaken vast projects towards the vision of creating the Shenzhen of Cambodia, as quoted by the Phnom Penh Post, as well as numerous Chinese news outlets. Indeed, it surprises many to learn that Cambodia is one of the fastest growing economies in the world, averaging well over 6% GDP growth per year for the past 2 decades, and it was the fastest growing economy in ASEAN in 2019 before COVID. And of course, although COVID had a huge impact on the kingdom, it's now expected to rebound quickly, with the ADB predicting a 5.3% GDP growth in 2022. Many of our members also suffered during the pandemic, but many also used this time to rethink and refine their offerings, ready to hit the ground running in a post-pandemic world, which we're now starting to see. So Cambodia's economy over the past 2 decades has been built on 4 key pillars. Those pillars are tourism, agriculture, garment manufacturing, and construction. And you can see just how important these pillars are by the number of people they employ, both formally and informally. Cambodia has been particularly successful at creating export-focused garment and footwear industries, taking advantage of competitive HR costs. But now times are changing. Wages are rising slightly, and Cambodia needs to diversify away from the simple cut, make, trim garment manufacturing it relied on in the past. However, it has started to see a great deal of success in this area already. Indeed, it's even been a beneficiary of certain geopolitical shifts. These include the coup in Myanmar and the US-China trade tensions, which are increasingly causing companies to consider Cambodia as an alternative manufacturing destination. For example, for the people on the call, I wonder how many know that Cambodia is actually the #1 bicycle supplier to the EU at the moment, and that its bicycle exports grew substantially in 2021, even in the height of the pandemic. There have also been exciting investments into electronics, automotive parts manufacturing by Japanese giants such as Yazaki and Sumatronics, and this is a trend that we expect to continue. Indeed, another trend is that Cambodia is seeking to improve its productivity, particularly in agriculture. Certainly, most Cambodian farms do not look like the one in the picture at the moment, but relevant to those on the call, around 41.5% of Italian exports to Cambodia are actually for machinery and engines, including those for agri-tech. The prospect of digital leapfrogging is also at the forefront of policymakers' minds. For example, Cambodia has quickly switched directly to mobile data. It's already trialing 5G, and it has extremely high social media and internet penetration rates. So a recent survey by Konrad Adenauer Stiftung suggested that social media was the primary news source for 80% of their respondents. And on top of this, it even has the second most advanced central bank issued digital currency project in the world, Bakong. Indeed, many opportunities that we see in Cambodia can be found aiding this leapfrogging and supporting productivity enhancements in general. Of course, as mentioned previously, Cambodia's young population has and will continue to be a driver of much of Cambodia's economic growth, with 52% of the population under the age of 25. And as this young and increasingly educated population has graduated into better jobs, the level of Cambodian consumption has been rising. You can see one of the figures here that we would like to update this. However, just one symptom of this, this rising consumption is what's been described as a retail bonanza by our member firm CBRE in their recent fearless forecast for the year 2022. So retail space is expanding rapidly, and for those Italian brands on the call potentially, luxury brands and distributors such as Bluebell Group, Burberry, Dolce & Gabbana, and Coach have all entered Cambodia in recent years, seeking to develop early market share. And more affordable brands, such as the French sports giant Decathlon, Swedish retail giant H&M, are now finding their Cambodian branches to be some of the most successful in the region. So on top of this, just in February, the Italian listed company OVS also opened its first store in the Aeon 2 mall complex. So overall, in the previous section, I hope to have convinced you that there is more to Cambodia than meets the eye. And in the next section, I'll describe how our members feel about Cambodia. So first, who are our members? Well, from this slide, I hope you can see that some of the largest companies in the world have invested in Cambodia. This includes European giants DKSH, Vinci, Siemens, DHL, and Worth. And most of these are our Eurocham members. We regularly ask our members what the greatest advantages and challenges are to operating in the kingdom. And it's clear that investment in Cambodia is certainly not without its challenges. However, those investing in Cambodia will in general enjoy an extremely business-friendly environment, with the government key to promote further FDI through initiatives such as its special economic zones and the Qualified Investment Project Scheme. My colleague Noé will go over these investment incentives in the following presentations. Cambodia is also revamping its investment promotion, or has revamped its investment promotion law, which again, Noé will cover in the next presentation. Investors will also enjoy competitive HR costs. They'll enjoy a strategic location and relative ease in repatriating profits. At Eurocham, we have also seen a government open to dialogue with the private sector, and in general, most foreigners in Cambodia enjoy a good quality of life. However, investors will also have to endure some of the highest energy costs in the region, infrastructure challenges, and sometimes lengthy and non-transparent procedures, though these are improving every year. Cambodia is also sandwiched between its two highly competitive neighbors, Vietnam and Thailand, both on which it relies on for much of its imports of processed goods. So for some of the hard data, I've included our recent business confidence survey results in this deck for you to review in your own time. You can see the primary advantage reported by our members here: cost of human resources, a good tax regime, availability of human resources, and here are the primary obstacles as reported to us by our members. We'll be updating this survey again in 2022. However, I'd like to leave this section with a note of optimism. And again, this needs to be updated, but in the height of 2021, in May, when we were all reeling from the COVID pandemic, just reeling from the February 20th incident where Cambodia's cases really expanded, 60% of our members still expected to grow in 2021, and we're seeing that figure increasing again this year. So I don't have too much time for my final section, but overall, I hope to have shared some highlights of Cambodia and to have changed the perceptions you may have of this growing country. For those wanting to learn more, we have a wealth of information, hard data, and detailed descriptions for each sector in our publications, which you can find on our website. This includes Business Confidence Survey and Business Opportunities Guide. We also have webinars on almost every sector of investment opportunities on our YouTube channel. And in that, you can see the sectors of opportunity. On top of that, Eurocham itself, we offer business market entry services for companies wanting to explore the region. And so do feel free to reach out to myself or any of the other Eurocham colleagues on the call if you would be interested in these services. In this deck, you can also see that balance, that different trade balance of Italian, Cambodian imports and exports. Italy currently imports around $351 million worth of goods from Cambodia, mostly garments and footwear, but also it's exporting around Italy is exporting around $136 million worth of goods to Cambodia. And you can see again that the majority of this is for machinery that is increasing Cambodia's productivity. So on that note, I think I've run out my 10 minutes. Thank you all for listening. I hope this was useful, and I'll pass back to Ratanak to move on to the next session.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you. Thank you for the presentations.